As part of the preparation for marriage, living together with somebody else, people are always talking about dating. And our children had different experiences of dating. That is, getting to know someone before you take the plunge and say yes. Whatever the time, it depends, but it's important. It's an important part of life. I remember when I was young, much younger, a teenager, people around me in France were talking about the youth around in the area, and they were having a word for it, that is, il fréquente, that is, oh, they are good friends, but a bit more than that, It means that they recognize that these two people started moving together, not with friends anymore, but as a group, but in two, going to places together. And then from there, then after that you had the engagement, and then eventually people married. Nowadays many people decide not to marry for whatever reason. Some of them because their parents broke their engagement or their marriage, and they said, well, what's the point of marrying to divorce? Some others are afraid of the commitment. Some others don't want to spend any money on marriage ceremonies and festivities, and just come together, hire, rent a flat and start life. But as a Christian, I would say it's important to marry. Marriage, especially from the girl's point of view, because I'm a girl, gives stability to the living together. The girl says that she is married, and she knows that this means that the husband has promised, has committed to be with her for life. And of course the reverse is also true, from the point of view of the man, the young man. But the girl is more vulnerable, because she's the one that will get pregnant. She's the one that might be left with a child or children if the husband decides to leave. Even from a materialist point of view, when you try to rent a place, people will always ask you, the agents, are you married? Or are you paxed, or, together in one way or the other, materially or legally? Because they want to know what will happen if there is a break. For example, at a point we rented our house to a couple, and after 1 month they decided to break. So the girl was left alone, and she couldn't cope financially, so she had to drop and leave. So that is a good example. So people, before you marry, you have to take time and get to know the other person. And you know that when they date, as they call it, they go to cinema, or they go to a restaurant, or they go walking, or different activities, even going to church together if they are Christians. You can always pretend that you are better than the reality, because the other person doesn't see you 24/7. But the more you wait, the more that vanish, that pretense will go. It's not even wicked pretense. It's that you always want to impress the other. You want to show your best. But your best is not the full story about you. So you need to know, as a person dating another, you get to know the kind of person you are meeting. When I met my husband, I had met people that were just talking to me. In fact, they didn't want to marry. They all wanted to have just a good time with a girl. And the way they were talking to me was really I found it stupid. As they were talking that I was beautiful, beautiful. I didn't believe anything of it. Another one invited me to cinema, and I said, "What film is it?" He said, "Whatever you want." I said, "What kind of thing is that?" When I met my husband, he told me why he had come to France from Nigeria, and then all we talked about was Nigeria, the Biafran war that has just ended, and what he was doing. I asked him, and he said that the only people that he met were the church. He was attending the same Bible study with me. So I got to know that he was dead serious about his life. And this clearly was not pretense. And another thing from that point of view that we have to say is that the place you are going to meet your husband is going to affect your marriage. If you met your husband in a pub or on a dancing floor, well, you are looking for somebody of that kind of environment. We met in a Bible study, and that was the bedrock of our marriage later. And then my husband also told me the naked truth. What he was saying was not really palatable. He was not trying to sugarcoat stories for me. He kept saying that he was from a poor family, that nobody had gone to uni before him, that there was no electricity, that there was no running water, that he made a list of the no's, which was quite the opposite of what he would have said if he wanted to attract me to that. He didn't tell me, oh, there are McDonald's, there are, And that is very important. And then, of course, the length of dating depends on your circumstances. For example, I was doing a PhD at the time, and he told me that for him and for things to go well, I should wait until my PhD is finished. I defend my thesis, and then at that time we will be free to marry and start a family. I found it difficult to wait, but actually it turned out well. And it was anyway only 2 years. It's only that at the time I was very much in a rush to marry, but he was not. And then there were other reasons, financial reasons to his choice. And he told me everything and reasoned it out. And I could see that it was very wise, a wise advice, a wise choice. I had agreed to it. Some people, are in different countries, and in that case, you need to know also about the person's country. If we are from different languages, cultures, countries, you cannot just ignore it and say, well, anyway, it doesn't matter, I only want to marry Peter or James or, You have to know that once you marry, you are going to marry a culture. And you will have to decide where to live. In your country, in the other country, or in a third country that is no home to any of you, of the two. All these things have to be, talked about. I know some people during dating read books together, debate and question and envisage the whole cultures, questions and so on. Some others don't do that. I think it depends of the age you are, your maturity, circumstances. What is important is that you have to think about it, that the person you marry will be your life partner. Till death do us part, like they say in church. So it's not a joke. You have to really get to know the person and know that you can really take him or her, for boys, take the person, flaws included. I know somebody, my father was a bailiff, and he was trying to patch marriages sometimes as part of his job. And somebody wanted to divorce because his wife was not cooking the way he wanted. And the mother was, telling him, see, this thing is not good. She doesn't know how to cook. I know better. This was a recipe for disaster. Another was a girl that could not take that boy because he was squeezing the toothpaste every morning in a bad way, according to her. So you have to get to know the person. Just like the fiancé to one of our daughters at the time came to her flat one morning at 6 o'clock. And she was still in her pajamas and she had no makeup on. She woke up and opened the door and said, what is it? And he said, no, I just wanted to see how you are when you are not prepared, when you are just yourself in the morning. And then he left. And she thought it was funny. But it was quite wise. So there are lots of things. So take your time and enjoy life ever after.